The cost of optional. A meeting invite lands in your calendar with a bright maybe button, and suddenly the agenda, the preparation notes, and the shared expectation behind the hour all feel negotiable. A checklist becomes a set of suggestions, and the cost shows up later as missed handoffs, shallow habits, and quiet resentment no dashboard can measure. When a system makes everything optional, it does not expand freedom without cost. It transfers obligations from shared structures into private willpower, and many commitments disappear because the incentives no longer reward keeping them. Optionality looks like kindness: fewer hard rules, fewer fixed schedules, fewer uncomfortable no moments. But optionality is an engineering decision, and it carries a constraint. A group cannot rely on what individuals are not constrained to deliver. The moment attendance, reply, update, or practice becomes opt-in by default, coordination must be rebuilt every time. Consider the basic mechanics of convenience culture. The system offers an exit ramp: skip the workout, postpone the message, reschedule the meeting, cancel the plan, defer the difficult conversation. Each ramp reduces immediate friction. The incentive is obvious. Short-term comfort is rewarded instantly, while long-term stability is rewarded slowly and often invisibly. A notification that can be ignored produces relief now. The downstream cost, confusion, delay, erosion of trust, arrives later, distributed across other people and future days. This creates a feedback loop. The more people experience that optional carries no immediate penalty, the more they learn that commitments are provisional. As commitments become provisional, others stop building plans around them. As others stop relying on them, the social cost of breaking them falls further. Optionality then looks even safer, because fewer people depend on you. The system behaves as designed. It measures quick satisfaction and treats delayed coordination failures as someone else's problem. Notice the trade-off. Optional systems optimize for individual flexibility, but they degrade collective predictability. Predictability is not romance. It is a coordination substrate. It is the unglamorous guarantee that when a task is assigned, when a time is set, when a role is taken, the world can be built on top of that fact. Convenience culture spends that substrate, and because the substrate is hard to quantify, the system replaces it with proxies. Instead of we keep our word, the proxy becomes we have a lot of options. Instead of we show up, the proxy becomes we stay responsive. Instead of we practice daily, the proxy becomes we have access to tools. Access is measurable, commitment is costly, so the system privileges access. Optionality also changes how responsibility is allocated. Responsibility sits partly in the structure: fixed schedules, recurring meetings, standing expectations, stable roles. In an optional system, responsibility shifts into the individual's attention. You must remember, decide again, justify again, and self-enforce again. That is not neutral. Attention is finite, and optionality competes for it. If every obligation requires a fresh decision, then obligations become competitors in a marketplace, and the winners are the ones that provide immediate reward or avoid immediate discomfort. This is not about nostalgia for strictness. It is about recognizing the function of friction. Some friction is a failure mode, pointless approvals, redundant checklists, meetings without decisions. But some friction is load-bearing. It signals seriousness. It protects long-term projects from being outbid by short-term relief. When systems remove all friction in the name of convenience, they remove the very constraint that made some promises durable. The result is a subtle weakening of the long term. Habits become when I feel like it. Teams become when it's urgent. Relationships become when I have bandwidth. And because the system never says you broke a vow, it simply says you chose differently. The moral language drains away and is replaced by consumer language. Everything becomes preference. Preference carries no obligation. What disappears first is not effort. It is meaning. Meaning depends on stable reference points, promises that survive moods, roles that survive inconvenience, practices that survive boredom. When everything is optional, attention becomes the hidden governor of the self. Whatever captures attention gets honored. Whatever does not gets postponed. In that environment, responsibility is easy to describe but hard to enact, because it is always competing with the next available option. This reshapes values through repetition. A person who is repeatedly asked to re-choose the same commitment learns to experience commitment as a temporary state, not a settled orientation. A group that repeatedly tolerates maybe learns to stop expecting reliability. A culture that repeatedly celebrates convenience learns to treat friction as an error, rather than asking what that friction was protecting. Second-order effects follow. Trust becomes more expensive because it requires constant verification, more check-ins, more reminders, more status updates, more contingency plans. Those are also costs, administrative costs paid in attention. So the system that promised ease produces a new kind of burden, the burden of perpetual renegotiation. And when renegotiation becomes normal, the quiet obligations that hold society together weaken. Showing up when it is not interesting, finishing what is not rewarding, keeping promises that no one is monitoring. These obligations rarely feel efficient. They rarely win in a marketplace of options. Yet they are the infrastructure of shared life. An infrastructure is most visible when it fails. Consider a single commitment in your life that once felt assumed. Something that used to be what we do, not what I might do. Notice how it is now represented in your environment. Is it a fixed time, a standing role, a clear expectation, a written agreement, a recurring entry, a default setting? Or is it a series of prompts asking you to choose again? Name, without dramatizing it, what was lost when it became optional. Predictability, trust, depth, skill, shared momentum, peace. Then examine the incentive that replaced it. Immediate comfort, flexibility, avoidance of conflict, escape from boredom, protection of ego, reduction of friction. Do not rush to repair anything in this moment. Simply observe the structure, where obligations used to live, where they live now, and what your attention is being trained to purchase with its limited hours. Optionality can feel like freedom, but it often functions as an unpriced withdrawal from the future. Let us examine the structure.